Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we need to talk about something that's been eating at me all week, and I'm going to be brutally honest because that's what we do here. Tom Bauer has just delivered what might be the most devastating takedown I've ever witnessed in modern media, and watching Meghan's reported reaction tells us everything we need to know about how close to the truth he's gotten. When someone threatens lawsuits instead of simply denying allegations, that's usually when you know the arrows have found their mark. Now, I know you guys are excited for more, but before we delve into further discussion, if you haven't subscribed, come on guys, what are you waiting for? Hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell ASAP. So now, let me start with the elephant in the room. The Yacht Girl allegations that Bauer has resurrected with surgical precision. Now, I know some of you are thinking this is just misogynistic gossip, and normally I'd agree with you. Women, especially ambitious women, often get smeared with these kinds of stories simply for existing in powerful circles. But here's what troubles me about Meghan's response to these allegations. She's never actually denied them directly. Instead, she calls them sexist and defamatory, which is a very different thing than saying they're false. That distinction matters more than people realize. The age controversy that Bauer raised, calling her a 54-year-old granny, is cruel and unnecessarily personal, but it highlights something deeper about Meghan's relationship with authenticity. If you've built your entire brand on being younger, fresher, more modern than the institution you married into, then questions about your actual age become questions about your fundamental honesty. It's not really about the numbers. It's about whether we can trust anything you've told us about yourself. What absolutely floors me is Bauer's claim that Meghan initially set her sights on William before settling on Harry. If true, this isn't just embarrassing, it's relationship-ending stuff. Imagine being Harry right now, reading headlines suggesting you were never your wife's first choice, that you were the consolation prize she accepted when the heir wasn't available. The psychological damage from that kind of revelation doesn't heal easily, and it explains why Harry has looked increasingly lost and disconnected in recent appearances. The lie about not knowing much about the royal family before meeting Harry is perhaps the most damaging allegation because it strikes at the heart of her victim narrative. Meghan has spent years portraying herself as this naive American who stumbled into royal life unprepared. But if Bauer is right, if she was researching Diana and the royals long before meeting Harry, then every complaint about not being supported or prepared looks calculated rather than genuine. It transforms her from a victim of circumstance into an architect of her own drama. Here's what really gets to me about this whole situation. Meghan's instinctive response to threatening litigation reveals everything about how she operates. Instead of addressing the allegations directly, instead of providing counter-evidence or simply denying the claims, her first move is apparently to lawyer up. That's the response of someone who's more concerned about controlling narratives than establishing truth. And it's exactly the pattern Bauer has been documenting throughout her career. The internet's response has been swift and merciless in ways that must be psychologically devastating for someone who spent years trying to control her image. The memes, the hashtags, the viral clips, turning her into a punchline. Once that genie is out of the bottle, you can't put it back. When you become a meme, you lose control of your story permanently, and that's exactly what's happening to Meghan right now. Every attempt to fight back just provides more material for mockery. Hollywood's reported retreat from the Sussexes tells us everything about how this is playing out in the entertainment industry. These are people who will work with almost anyone if there's money to be made, but when they start backing away from you quietly, that's not about moral judgment. That's about brand toxicity. Meghan has become what every publicist fears most, a client whose scandals overshadow any potential profit. What breaks my heart is watching Harry get caught in this crossfire. Whether Bauer's allegations are true or not, the damage to Harry's dignity is undeniable. He's gone from being the spare heir who found love to being the spare heir who was someone's backup plan. That's not something a man's ego recovers from easily. especially when it's playing out on the global stage with his wife apparently more concerned about suing journalists than comforting her humiliated husband. The strategic brilliance of Bauer's approach is that he's not just making random accusations. He's systematically dismantling the three pillars of Meghan's public persona: her youth and glamour, her great love story, and her outsider victim narrative. Once those foundations crumble, what's left? A woman who appears to have calculated her way into royalty and is now calculating her way through the aftermath of leaving it. The legal threats that Meghan is reportedly making reveal the impossible position she's put herself in. Sue Bauer and risk him presenting evidence that could be even more damaging, or stay silent and let these allegations define her forever. This is what happens when you build your entire life on narrative control, rather than authentic relationships and genuine achievements. Eventually, someone comes along with better research and less fear, and your carefully constructed house of cards collapses. The most painful aspect of all this is how it affects the children who are caught in this media tornado through no fault of their own. Archie and Lilibet are going to grow up knowing that their parents' relationship was publicly dissected in the most humiliating ways possible, that their mother was branded with allegations she could never fully escape, that their father was mocked as a consolation prize. The psychological impact of that legacy is something we can't even begin to calculate. What terrifies me about Meghan's reported fury and panic is that it suggests someone who genuinely didn't see this coming. After years of controlling narratives through friendly interviews and carefully managed documentaries, she apparently wasn't prepared for someone like Bauer, who does his homework and doesn't care about access or relationships. That kind of shock suggests someone who's been living in a bubble of their own creation for so long they forgot what real accountability looks like. The contamination that sources describe, where Meghan has made herself untouchable in certain circles, is probably the most devastating consequence of all. In a world where reputation is everything, where trust is the currency that matters most, being branded as unreliable or manipulative is a death sentence. You can survive being disliked, but you can't survive being distrusted. The broader lesson here is about the dangers of building your entire identity on image management rather than substance. Meghan spent so much energy crafting the perfect narrative that she apparently forgot to live an authentic life worth defending. When someone like Bauer comes along with receipts and testimonies, all that careful curation becomes evidence of deception rather than smart brand management. Harry's reported mortification is perhaps the most human element in this entire mess. Imagine discovering that your marriage, your life choices, your entire recent history might have been based on circumstances you never fully understood. Whether Bauer's allegations are completely accurate or not, the seeds of doubt have been planted in the most public way possible, and that's relationship poison that's almost impossible to neutralize. The palace's silence throughout all this is perhaps the most damaging response of all. When your former family won't even dignify allegations about you with a denial, when they treat your existence as so irrelevant that they won't waste energy defending you, that's institutional rejection at its most brutal. Meghan has achieved something remarkably difficult. She's made the British royal family look restrained and dignified by comparison. Looking ahead, I genuinely don't see how Meghan recovers from this level of reputational damage. The internet never forgets. Hollywood doesn't forgive brand toxicity, and the public has moved from curiosity to exhaustion to active mockery. Whether she sues Bauer or stays silent, whether his allegations are proven or not, the conversation has shifted permanently from what she's accomplished to what she's allegedly hidden. The tragedy isn't just personal, it's cultural, because Meghan represented something important to millions of people who saw her as proof that outsiders could challenge ancient institutions and win. The fact that her story might have been more calculated than inspirational doesn't just disappoint her supporters, it reinforces cynicism about change and progress that will outlast her personal downfall. Ta-ta, and bye for now.